If you're holding XRP, XLM, ADA, just any one of our most favorite altcoins that usually go absolutely crazy in bull markets, I've got a warning for you. A matter of fact, I got a especially good opportunity for y'all, especially for the ones that are trading down below on Bybit or Blowfin or whatever. I'm going to tell you guys a little secret. Now, many of y'all have been extremely disappointed that our cryptos have dipped this much. I mean, I've been looking at the market right now, and some altcoins here, this is for example XLM, just a few hours ago it was at 47 cents, right? And it took a pretty big nosedive of roughly like 30% or so in just the span of a few hours. It actually took this about a 20% dive or so in like 5 minutes. So it was a very, very significant flash crash. But I tells you right now, this is literally, if you are attentive enough, where you can make millions of dollars in minutes. I'm telling y'all, link down below to Blowfin, by the way, if you also want to trade crypto, you can use it from anywhere in the world. I'm telling you right now that if you look back at 2021, where was the majority of the opportunity? It was buying the freaking dip in bull markets. It was buying when things are looking at their absolute worst. What have I been doing now for the last couple of hours? Well, you guessed it, ladies and gentlemen, I've been buying the freaking dip like a maniac. And I wasn't right, in the sense that I thought we might have actually stopped dipping already at, for example, the 40 cent per XLM mark. So I bought heavily at 40 cents. It dipped further. Matter of fact, it dipped below my second layer of buys at like 36 or something like that. And then it went all the way to 34. My last order was slightly above that and one a significant amount below. Point being though, take a look at this, right? So the price fell down a whopping 25% in a span of like an hour, let's just call it, right? Almost something like that. If you were able to just buy your way down, which in this case we were not perfectly, but hey, all right, you don't know where the bottom is going to be, but if you buy your way down, look at this. In the next, I'm going to say 10 minutes, it was back up almost 20%. In the next 30 minutes, it was up 20% indeed. And it fell back down a little bit. Afterwards, you see, it fell back down roughly 11% or so because things were volatile, things were panicky, and then right back up 12% or so, or in this whole time span, we're up roughly about 19% or so over the last 2 hours. And I keep reminding y'all that this is basically the same for almost any crypto here. Let's just quickly take a look at the XRP price, for example, throughout this period. If you had just been really, really attentive, let's just quickly see, right? So from earlier throughout the day, price has gone down roughly 20%. But let's just quickly see. So from this dip, right, about an hour or two ago, if you were buying significantly, even at just $2, for example, which I told you guys, buy at $2 always. XRP at $2 is such a freaking steal. The last video I made, I said that anyway. Even if you didn't, it's okay. Let's just say you bought at $2, which would have been, so you try to buy it maybe like $2.01 to not be at the psychological barrier, slightly above it. I bought heavily. I'm saying, when I say heavily, guys, if we broke to like $1.50 instantly, I might have cried a little. Because I bought so heavy at $2, you're going to be surprised. Anyway, the reason I did that mostly because it was a gut feeling that it wasn't going to go much past it. And that is mostly because if you go down this much, right, it's very uncommon that you go down 40, 50% in a day. It could have happened. My then worst case scenario would have been $1.50, which at that point I would have basically gone all in. Like all my stablecoin would have been deployed, which... Oh, imagine we keep going down, huh? That would be an interesting day then. You can see, I even have headphones on. I never wear headphones. I've been watching this screen for hours in a row. I've not moved. I need to pee for hours, maybe probably already. I'm just sitting here watching this. Anyway, so I wanted to quickly address. All right, price has gone down roughly, 20% or so in just the span of an hour, let's just call it. How much is it back up? Roughly 17% or so in 30 minutes. Again, I would call this lucky. I can be a guy that says, no, we calculated that. No. I didn't know where it was going to stop. I just happened to be slightly lucky with XRP that it was around my $2 buy-in, which again was about $2.01. Now, I wouldn't say it's too calculated. It's just a major psychological barrier. We got lucky with this dip, but it does prove the point that I tried to make earlier, and I've made in many of these videos two things. One, if you're witnessing life-changing gains, change your life. Because some people always say, Dusty, what if my gains are going to get wiped out? I'll be really sad. And my answer is always, it can happen to the best of us. I see all of this as a good leverage flush. Some people get wrecked out that are over leveraged. But for the majority of people, this is where the crazy amounts of money is made. This is where the real opportunity is at. You can see the price of XRP went down 40 cents in a day. Yesterday, we were all enjoying happily looking at $2.65, whatever per XRP. Still, as it currently stands though, price-wise, this is relatively still a pretty good buy-in area. You know, because previously was like the 224s or so that were the major bottoms. But man, imagine if we'd gone down slightly lower, all right? Because 194 we talked about as the previous top right here. I think a couple of you guys had orders at these levels, I'm going to assume, because we talked before about relevancy. But even if we skip that, right? $2, logical barrier. As a matter of fact, it was actually, if we start thinking about it, it was $196, $199, $2. Those are the three more important ones. Why? $196, I believe, was the 2021 highest point. It was 196, I mean. 199 was the 2017 highest monthly close, I think. And then $2, obviously a major psychological barrier. And we ended up with the lowest point being 198. And I always say, by slightly above these major barriers, if you had used the 2021 top, you might have only bought at 197. You could have missed this. And also, I'm not sure what the size was that got filled in this instance here. We got lucky at $2, but depending on how much money you usually trade with, you probably wouldn't have got your whole order filled. Because again, when you see a crazy wick like this, you have to understand that it doesn't necessarily mean that anybody who wanted to buy $1 billion at 199 would have got it filled. It's going to depend on how much pressure is downwards. And in this case here, it was not that significant. Just to put it into perspective here, if you take a look at the 1 minute chart, for example, you can then see the volume. So you can actually kind of get an estimation of how much buys or sell there was in that minute. But that's about the whole candle, right? The whole minute. Out of the whole thing, only then you have to go to the second chart to see that, but mostly only a small portion is going to be the actual bottom of the bottom. So please don't get misguided saying, oh, but I could have just placed the order at 199 point some. I placed orders at every single level and I could have bought $1 billion XRP there. No, you couldn't. You could have bought a good chunk because this is pretty liquid and it was a pretty big move, but perhaps if you had some crazy orders open, it wouldn't have even worked. Anyway, I just wanted to bring to y'all's attention that for some people, and this might sound kind of dark, but some people's worst days might be your best. The moment where some other person gives up, this could be your opportunity. And I know that for some watching this video even right now, they will not get it. They'll look at this thinking, but Dusty, my portfolio is down so much. And the only thing I can say about it is, well, if you're afraid of things going down, well, why do you expect things to go up, right? You expect things to only go in that direction, never come back down? It tends to happen that the majority or the best opportunities lie in the worst moments. But generally speaking, when it comes to trading, when it comes to these investments, really, when things go down, you get more certain. From the one hand, because the more they're down, the less they can fall. You might think, Dusty, but you can fall 99.9% from 99.9% down, which is true. But in essence, you buying XRP, for example, if we name one coin, at $2.20 or $2 is theoretically speaking less risky than buying it at $2.90. Why? Well, first of all, I don't even got to explain why buying it at a lower price is less risky. The only counter to that is when things are on the up and up, theoretically speaking, there is an argument to make that things will most likely continue towards going up. And if they're going down, at that point, it's riskier because it's already trending downwards, right? Right now, though, the general trend is upwards. So basically, you got to understand, this is the direction that we're going. And if you understand the channel that we're basically seeing, which looks like this, and then, okay, so I'll put my hand like this, right? But then the wave basically goes upside and downside of that curve. In that instance, the lower you go along that curve, the better it is. If the curve looks like this, and you go like this, so to speak, yeah, then the lower it gets, the worse that things get, so to speak. But in bull markets, you have flushes. In the previous video, I talked about the fact that back in 2021, it was one of the worst days I've ever had in my life. And it's because the entire altcoin market crashed by 50% in one day. Many coins were down 80%. Many coins were down 40%. I think Bitcoin was even down like 40 or 30, 40%, something like that in a day. And so if Bitcoin falls to like 68,000 a day, you gotta understand how that would feel, right? Or even go to 64,000, go down 35% in a day. Matter of fact, go to below 60,000 all of a sudden just today in your altcoins. XRP going back to $1.10, for example. That's how bad it was. And so today was one of the worst liquidations in the crypto space that we've seen in a very, very long time. 1.7 billion US dollars in a day is ridiculous. We've definitely not seen anything worse than that for the last half a year. I mean, it could be that we got something like that back in April, but I don't think so. I think we're looking back at it. I don't think we witnessed anything even close to that. And this is, by the way, the chart for Bitcoin. I kept saying, man, as long as you stay above this line right now, we still have about 25 minutes left shown to the daily close. We are quite good. You can see we wicked down below it. We wicked again. This case here for Bitcoin, though, it wasn't that crazy of a wick. I'm still extremely bullish here. I don't care what anybody says. Literally, whatever opinion you've got, throw your worst at me. I don't care. I'm just buying the freaking dip. Even if we dip more tomorrow, I know my strategy. I know it works. I've got enough confidence for the whole freaking army. I literally cannot get bothered by any single thing that any person can say. So whatever you've got, you want to curse at me for this day? Hey, give me your worst. It doesn't matter. We'll buy up whatever you sell off. I don't give a crap right now. I've not been this locked in. I've not been behind this computer for this many hours ever. I actually, fun fact, I missed the worst part of the dip because I had to eat something, and that's my luck. And I guess the lesson I've learned today is never eat again. Just watch these charts, and it's definitely worth it because this is where the craziest opportunity lies right now. It's just, we're so volatile and I'm loving it so much because that just means every single time we dip like crazy, I can buy that dip. And every single time on the flip side, right? Every single time it comes back up, we make tons. I'm not saying it's going to be a beautiful journey all the way through, but ultimately we know where we're headed. And that's the most important part, ladies and gents. What a crazy day, but also what crazy opportunities we've got right now. You're lucky to be you, you know. You're lucky to be in this position where hopefully you've cashed out some at the top. If you didn't, well, anyway, maybe you're a spot holder, you know, you don't really trade. Then at that point, it's fine because most of my spot bags I'm still holding. There's some altcoins that I'm selling off because they just go up so much that it's time to rotate into new things that have not popped off yet, which I always do. There's nothing too particular about that. My main bags have not sold off yet because I think we're going so much higher this cycle, and I don't like to play around with them too much, right? I don't like to play around with them on the short term. But this is talking about trades. I always have them open, literally always. A lot of my friends got wrecked today. One of my friends turned a 5-figure account into a 7-figure account, and he broke it all off. It's all back down to zero. And that's also, if you want to make crazy amounts of money really quickly, you got to have some crazy risk tolerance, and that's also where things can go wrong. On the opposite side, if you are right, you can make so much money in just a short amount of time. If you were lucky enough, let's just call it lucky here, to buy this exact Pico bottom, right? You exactly got a bid in at $2. And for example, you had a higher leverage, maybe 20x, for example. Just on this move, you would have tripled your money in 30 minutes. Everything you put in would have been tripled in just 30 minutes. Can you believe that for just a second? I'm not saying this would have been easy. I'm just saying that's the opportunity that there is when watching these markets. So some people out here, they don't sleep no more. They just check it. They just watch. They just make sure to get as many bids in as possible on the way back down to hopefully get a very low average price. And then on the road back upwards, they make tons. And ultimately, that's the journey here. That's the goal. Grab as much as possible when things are low. And especially because people are panicking, man. That's where the real opportunity lies. And I'm just scrolling through here, seeing all the panic. I'm loving it. But you know, as I stated a few times, Michael Saylor is buying. He's the guy buying up all the Bitcoin. I also noticed just now that in my last video where I talked about my Christmas expectation, that I cut off the first half of the video. So if you're wondering, why was that video kind of random? At least a good portion of it was missing. I'm just noticing it now, thinking about it like, hey, I didn't actually edit that part together, did I? Sometimes you have those funny realizations. Boys and girls and everything else. I hope you're all okay. But the best times are coming ahead of us, man. Be patient enough. I remember back in 2021, I was so panicky many days, but it'll all be worth it. I keep telling you, I've set this at a 30-cent XRP. I've set this at a $10,000 Bitcoin. Remember, guys, I've been holding Bitcoin for so freaking long. Many times I thought about giving up in the midst. Why? Not because I really didn't expect it to be the future, but just because you expect them to really start dumping like crazy. And on the short term, there's been many opportunities where I could have dumped and bought back cheaper, could have made crazy sums of money. But that's really not me. What I just do for the most part is buy when they're lower. And you can actually sell as your positions change and it flows back up a little bit to shave off. For the most part, I just buy up and I'm happy that I'm part of all this because I know where we're eventually headed. And that just keeps me motivated, keeps me going because best way to phrase it is, I know what I hold. Yeah, that's about it.